New and surprising things are being discovered around the world daily. There are surprises waiting for scientists wherever they go. All kinds of creatures that surprise the mind, historical relics, traces of tragedy, and hidden natural wonders are found preserved in bizarre places. Ice is an incredibly effective means of preservation, and the frozen landscapes around the world are therefore hiding many unsound secrets. Over the years, many strange and unexplained things have been discovered in the frozen tundras of our planet, which have completely changed our perception of history and science. How exactly did ice manage to perfectly preserve creatures that lived thousands of years ago and artifacts belonging to civilizations that we know very little about, a mystery that remains unsolved to this day? There is no logical justification for some things to have remained intact in their original form under the layers of ice, while others simply disappeared from the face of the earth. But archaeologists and scientists have discovered such things in such cold lands that almost no way of life can survive there. So today we are going to tell you everything about some of the most shocking things discovered frozen in the ice, so make sure you stay there until the end. Number 1. Siberian Ice Maiden. This mummy of a woman from the 5th century, also known as Princess Dukak, Princess of Altai, Devadika, and Otyabula, was discovered in a kurgan of the Pazyryk culture in the Republic of Altai, Russia. The Siberian Ice Maiden was discovered by archaeologist Natalia Vytorovna Polozmak and her team while exploring a group of kurgans in a range of disputed territories between China and Russia. Her funeral chamber was found on the Dukak Plainalty in the summer of 1993. Local inhabitants frequently called this area the second layer of the sky. The maiden is considered a representative of the Pazyryk culture, as it prospered between the 6th and 2nd centuries BC. Her mortal remains were found in a funeral chamber underground and did not seem to have been disturbed. In 2012, the remains of the Ice Maiden were transferred to a special mausoleum in the National Republican Museum of Gino-Altai. There was a coffin made of a solid Larissa wood trunk inside her tomb chamber. It was found with leather appliques depicting figures similar to deer. According to experts, she was between 20 and 30 years old at the time of death. Initially, the cause of death was not known, but in 2014, new research revealed that breast cancer, along with some injuries she suffered due to a fall, led to her death. Cannabis was discovered in a container close to the body, and this led scientists to speculate that it was used to relieve the chronic pain she must have suffered. Tattoos that looked a lot like deer and panthers were found on her shoulder, wrist, and thumb. She was buried in a tussa blouse, silk yellow, a red and white striped skirt with a ball belt, high white felt legs on the thigh, marten fur, and a 1-meter high toe. The rest of the 2 other warriors with similar tattoos were also found near the tomb chamber. Some people believe that these tattoos were a sign of status in life after death. The chamber had been preserved by the water that infiltrated and froze to form a huge block of ice inside that chamber that never completely thawed and thus kept the content of this burial preserved for more than 2,400 years. Number 2. Victims of the plane crash. In August 1976, Flight Seda 232 from Quito, Ecuador, to Cuenca was given as missing. Seda operated the Vickers Viscount 785D, which transported 55 passengers and 4 crew members. The route is considered quite dangerous due to the Chimborazo mountain being covered in snow. The site of the accident was found in October 2002 at an altitude of 5,310 meters. At the time, everyone on board the plane was presumably dead. Those who did not die disappeared. Almost 30 years after the accident, the wreckage of the plane was accidentally discovered by 2 climbers. Pablo Tequiza and Flavio Armas were just exploring a new route to the summit of the Chimborazo volcano when they noticed the remains of the plane. This discovery was not confirmed until February 2003, when a TV network team hired by Tele Amazonas climbed the volcano in the hope of recording images of the wreckage. Few members of this team noticed many humans' remains among the wreckage along with newspapers since the day the plane disappeared. They also found identification evidence for almost all passengers on board. This was a bitter discovery due to the fact that the passengers died in a terrible way, and those who survived the accident probably suffered here alone in the snow before falling into the victims of time. But here it also meant that the family and friends of the unhappy travelers at least got some answers, although nothing can really reduce the pain of losing your loved ones. Number 3. Ice Age Vision. In 1979, researchers discovered the mummified body of a bison steppe in the Alaska tundra. The interesting thing is that shortly after, they cut some meat off its neck and ate it. What they did not know at the time was that it was not a common bison. It was at least 55,000 years old. The bison was probably mistreated by a predator. The marks of the claws on the back of the carcass and the perforations in the skin suggested that it was killed by an American lion of the Ice Age. Fortunately, permafrost preserved the body and prevented it from becoming food for smaller creatures. The mass of this bison remained intact for more than 50,000 years until finally, a group of explorers ventured to Iremina in 1979. They used a hydraulic mining hose to melt the ice until they found this body. The skeleton, skin, and muscles were perfectly preserved. Dale Gertry, who led the excavation, cut off a part of the neck and organized a dinner that served the old meat for 8 people. Dale was the one who named the bison Blue Babe. Several years after its discovery, a taxidermist from Finland transferred the body to Fairbanks and restored the specimen for exhibition. Number 4. Iron Age Arrow. Researchers with the archaeology program Secrets of Ice Glacier, from the Norwegian county of Inlandet, discovered the team thinks it was frozen in an ice block and was transported by the ice when it melted. The Secrets of Ice shared a post on Facebook describing the characteristics of the arrow. The preservation of the artifact was noticeable, but not completely perfect. The fabric and the caulking that glue the various parts of the arrow showed signs of wear and tear. This made scientists speculate that the arrow may have been exposed and frozen several times before it was lost. Lars Holger Pello, an archaeologist with the team, explained that so far they have found more than 200 arrows that melted in the ice in the county of Inlander. According to him, these arrows are at least 6,000 years old. This one in particular is best preserved, with the tip of the arrow still stuck and the remains of its tendon and pitch present. Most of the other arrows they found are preserved only with fragments of their remaining bones. Researchers believe that the abundance of arrows can be attributed to the fact that this area was a hunting ground. The arrows that failed the target were lost in the snow. For the ancient hunters, it may have been a failed shot, but for modern archaeologists, it was a bull's eye. Number 5. Yucca, the mammoth. The yucca is considered the most well-preserved mammoth carcass ever found. It was discovered in 2010 by local hunters of Siberian prey. It was found about 30 kilometers west of the Kontrativo River, along the coast of Yugoslavia, in the Laptev Sea region. Yucca is a young female mammoth and was named Yucaja, where it was found by local inhabitants. The mammoth is approximately 39,000 years old. Analysis of its prey and teeth revealed that it was about 6 to 8 years old at the time of its death. Experts believe that the mother fell into the water or got stuck in a swamp. The poor thing was not able to free herself and ended up dying. However, some people have speculated that she was attacked by lions or other predators. Yucca immediately became an international sensation and scientists from all over the world were super excited to learn more about her. Pi Lazarev and Gregoria from the Mammoth Museum were the first scientists to study these remains. The remains were later transported to the Sakha Science Academy in Yakutsk. Yucca has been on display in Moscow since October 2014. In 2019, researchers from Japan working with yucca tissue revealed that they were able to stimulate structures similar to nuclei to perform some biological processes. But they were unable to induce cell division. Number 6. Rotifers Vibloid. Scientists in Russia were able to successfully reanimate a unique species of animals from their prolonged sleep. They remained frozen in the Arctic permafrost for more than 24,000 years. These microscopic invertebrates usually live in aquatic environments and are incredibly well-versed in the art of survival. Russian scientists first found them in a frozen soil core that they had obtained by perforating the Siberian permafrost with the help of a drilling probe. This discovery is proof that multicellular animals are capable of enduring tens of thousands of years in cryptobiosis, a state of almost totally stopped metabolism. Previously, it was believed that frozen rotifers could survive up to 10 years, but the last radiocarbon analysis revealed that the rotifers they had found were at least 24,000 years old. These are also called wheeled animals, sometimes because of the ring of tiny hairs around their mouths that look like a wheel. These robust creatures can survive freezing temperatures, extreme drought, low oxygenation, and inane. Once defrosted, the rotifer obtained from the permafrost is reproduced by a clonal process called parthenogenesis. It belongs to the genus Adanita. Some theorists from the conspiracy out there are worried if resuscitating this animal was a good idea or not. What do you think? Number 7. The frozen bear and its cub. Scientists found a perfectly preserved cave bear and a frozen bear cub on an ice wall in Siberia. The species analysis revealed that it is at least 39,000 years old. Previously, only the prehistoric and subspecies bones of the Eurasian had been unearthed. The two bears were found in separate excavation sites. The remains were discovered for the first time by reindeer herders on a remote island in 2020. The analysis revealed that the soft tissue of the adult bear, Ursus spelaeus, had been preserved for tens of thousands of years in permafrost. And Russian scientists are optimistic that sooner or later they will be able to find the DNA of the predator of the Ice Age. They are probably waiting to revive the animal as they are trying to do with a lamb mammoth. In the opinion of scientist Dr. Lena Grigorieva, this is the first and only foundation of its kind, an entire bear carcass with soft tissues. And she is not wrong, the carcass is incredibly intact with all the organs in place. Photographs show that even the bear's nose is intact. The specimens were transported to the Federal University of Northeast Russia in Yakutsk for a deeper analysis. Number 8. Gelira's Mammoth Tusk Glaciers. The defrosting of Russian permafrost caused what specialists are now calling the Mammoth Gold Race. The remains of old mammoths, especially valuable prey, are being discovered in this remote region of Russia. The prey is worth a fortune around the world. The trade of these mammoth remains is not yet regulated and the search and sale of these prey is completely illegal in Russia. Climate change is quickly revealing these relics and hunters who dig them are selling them for thousands of dollars, thus inspiring a busy trade. Teams go to the region every year to dig up the remains of the lamb mammoths hidden under the permafrost. They sleep in improvised tents and survive on meat, pasta, and vodka. This is an illegal operation, however. They tear the bodies of the mammoths from the permafrost using brute force. Many of the bodies are also damaged in the process. In their greed for heavy payments, these people dig up the skeleton's prey, but in the process destroy the evidence of past life on Earth. Number 9. Andrei Expedition. Some historical expeditions that set out to explore the most remote corners of the Earth ended up disappearing and some of them were never seen or heard from again. Andrei's Arctic balloon expedition was considered one of these until 1930, when the Norwegian expedition Brattberg, studying the glaciers and seas of the Svalbard archipelago, found its mortal remains. The particularly hot summer allowed them to land on the inaccessible island called Kovisha. The thick ice that covered the island and the fog around it made it impossible for ships to reach the island, but the fortunate members of the expedition Brattberg found the remains of the 1897 balloon expedition under the ice and snow. It was a hydrogen balloon trip launched with the intention of reaching the North Pole. The three Swedish expedition members, S.A. Andrei, Kront Frenkel, and Nils Strindberg, all perished. The balloon fell only 2 days after takeoff, but the crew remained safe. However, they came across a tiring walk back to the south and as they were not properly equipped or dressed, they did not survive the harsh terrain. Modern explorers found the ship and a diary along with 2 skeletons that the ice had preserved. Number 10. George Mallory. George Herbert Lee Mallory was a successful English climber who participated in the first 3 British expeditions to Mount Everest in the 1920s. On the 1924 expedition of the Monstrous Peak, George and his partner Andrew Irvine mysteriously disappeared in the northeast of Ridge. They were seen for the last time about 800 meters vertically from the summit. No one knew what happened to the couple, and their fate remained a mystery for a good 75 years. But on May 1, 1999, the world woke up to shocking news. Mallory's body had been discovered by a research expedition that was proposed to recover the dead remains of the climber. Conrad Anker, from Mallory and Irvine's research expedition, saw a frozen body at an altitude of about 26,760 feet in the northern face of the mountain. It was below the point where Irvine's axe had been discovered in 1936. That's probably why the team thought it belonged to Irvine. However, when they read the name tags on the body, they were surprised to find out it was Mallory. The body was well preserved in the ice. Some personal belongings found in it include a brass altimeter, a pocket knife with a lamb's head with a leather staff, a pair of snow glasses, a letter, and an account from a London supplier of climbing equipment was also found in the body. The research team even returned to the site in 2002 and discovered their last camp too, but could not find the camera they took to take pictures. Mallory is considered a legend in the world of mountaineers. Sir Edmund Hillary, along with Tenzing Norgay, is credited for having reached Everest's first summit, saying Mallory was recently the initial pioneer of the idea of climbing Mount Everest. Number 11. Antarctic King Antarctonix Shackletoni, also known as the Antarctic King, is an ancestor of dinosaurs and crocodiles of modern times. Scientists revealed in a study published in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology that they discovered fossils at least 250 million years old of this ancestor of the dinosaurs in the Arctic ice. The second part of its name, Shackletoni, is a tribute to Ernest Shackleton, an explorer of the 20th century who named the rocky formation in the Transantarctic Mountains in Antarctica, where the species was first excavated. The rock is called Fourmouth, and this was the place where Brandon Peacock found the fossil preserved during his expedition to Antarctica between 2010 and 2011. Antarctonix lived during the early Triassic period, just before the mass extinction event of the final permissive that decimated 70% of the Earth's population. It belongs to the group of archaic reptiles that prospered after the devastating mass extinction. Paleontologists find it fascinating that these creatures flourished, while the rest of the species that inhabit the Earth literally fell dead. The bones unearthed from the Antarctonix Shackletoni include vertebrae, leg and foot bones, and ribs. Researchers are confident that it was a carnivore. It lived when Antarctica was still connected to Pangaea. Number 12. Mexican climbers. In 1959, a group of 7 Mexican climbers set out to climb the Orizaba Peak, the highest peak in Mexico. However, the group disappeared after an unexpected avalanche hit them. In 2015, a group of unsuspecting climbers discovered a frozen head coming out of the snow, covering the glacier near the summit. Shortly after the archaeologists arrived at the site to conduct a complete investigation, they were able to recover 2 mummified bodies that were hugging. Experts believe they had assumed this position because of the heat. A special container was used to transport the bodies from the snow safely. In addition to the 2 recovered bodies, another climber was also killed in the avalanche, whose body is still to be discovered. The remaining 4 members of the expedition had returned safely after not being able to locate their companions on the day. One of the climbers, named Luis Espinoza, who came back from the mountain alive, believes that the bodies definitely belonged to his lost friends. Number 13. The incredible seed safe. The Svalbard Seed Global Coffin is a secure support facility located on the Norwegian island of Spitsbergen. The objective of this safe is to preserve the diversity of cultures on our planet. It provides long-term storage of duplicates of seeds preserved in hygiene banks around the world. It ensures the safety of the world's food supply against the loss of seeds due to various reasons such as bad administration, accidents, equipment failures, financing cuts, war, diseases, sabotage, and natural disasters. The terms for the management of this safe were explained in a 3-party agreement between the Norwegian government, the Crop Trust, and the Nordic Genetic Resource Center. The construction of this safe was almost exclusively financed by the Norwegian government. In 2008, it was built at a cost of about $8.8 million. Operational costs are shared by Norway and the Crop Trust. The seed storage here is free for depositors. The seed bank is built about 120 meters inside a mountain of sandstone on the island of Spitsbergen. The installation security system is robust and advanced. The Nordic Genetic Resource Center is responsible for its management, but there is no permanent staff on the premises. The island of Spitsbergen was chosen to build this facility, as it has no tectonic activity and the permafrost here helps preserve the seeds. The site will remain even if the ice caps melt, as it is about 130 meters above sea level. A viability study was carried out before the construction of this abyss, and it was discovered that most of the seeds of the main food cultures could be preserved here for hundreds of years. Some grains can even remain viable for thousands of years. This safe can save the human race from hunger in case of any natural calamity or accident that may threaten the supply of food to our species. Number 14. Forest under a glacier. An ancient forest thawed under an Alaska glacier had melted, and its trees are finally seeing the light of day after about 1,000 years. Thoras and tokos have stood out from the Mendenhall Glacier, located in southern Alaska. Researchers at the University of Southeast Alaska in Juneau have noticed more and more trees appearing, some in their original vertical position as well. Others still have roots and some parts of the shell as well. Scientists are excited because they are able to see the outer part of the tree and do the math to see the age of the tree when it froze. The team identified the trees as abeto or cicuta, based on the diameter of the trunk. Katzy Connor, professor of geology at the University of Southeast Alaska, believes that a protective shell grave has surrounded the trees for more than 4,000 years when the glacier was advancing. The shell layer was about 4 to 5 feet high and apparently enclosed the trees before the glaciers finally advanced and lava. Number 15. Vostok Lake. A freshwater lake covered with ice was discovered in 1996 with the help of a radar that penetrated the ice and artificial seismic waves. Vostok Lake is about 4 kilometers below the ice mantle of East Antarctica. It is also the oldest and most pristine lake in the world and has not yet been disturbed by humanity. It is one of the 70 lakes that were identified under the ice sheet of Antarctica. It remained isolated for more than 500,000 years and potentially contains microorganisms with a single genetic pool that remained unchanged since the time Antarctica was covered by exuberant green forests. It is also one of the largest lakes on the planet. Vostok Lake is 48 kilometers wide and 235 kilometers long. It covers an area of more than 10,000 square kilometers and has a depth of 914 meters. Currently, the lake is a long-term target for exploration through the display of in-situ experiments. Many experts believe that the crystalline waters of Vostok Lake should remain intact so that humanity or science does not ruin this natural wonder. Do you think scientists should have permission to access the lake and the hidden life forms in its depths? Tell us in the comments below.